Afternoon, everybody. Today's video is kind of prompted off of a really spot-on conversation I had with, one of my closest friends, his brother to me. And it really struck a lot of things real deep. I just want to share. Now, mind you, I don't script any of these things. I don't take any time to prepare for them. It's just kind of whatever comes to me comes out. A lot of times I end up talking in circles, but that's just the way it works. But today, I'm going to talk about a couple things. One of them, it could only be tied into the way it was phrased into maturity. And the other is going to be communication. Now, what brought this up is I was having a conversation with him. I'm looking to continually grow as a person in my career, as myself. These things are always very relevant, So instead of the normal, irrational way that I've always dealt with not understanding something or trying to get answers, I ask basic questions. Because you don't always know what it is you're thinking, you don't always know, and there's always going to be somebody out there that has something to say about it, some spot-on advice, and it may not always match exactly with what you're doing, but if it lines up even a little bit, then roll with it. Take what you can from it and see what else you can grab, see what else you can learn. So in the midst of this conversation, it had to do with, in the process of finishing my degree, trying to see what advice I could get on growth. And really, it came down to, it's not necessarily just a lack, but it's an understanding of maturity. Maturity, it was best defined as the ability to make calm, rational decisions when faced with the need to. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been very guilty for a long time of making irrational decisions, thinking that they were based off of need, thinking they were based off of this is what has to happen to make whatever the issue or whatever is in front of me closed loop, complete. And it is just over the past several months, really, that I've taken the time to look in the mirror more and more to see where these things are going wrong, to see what I can change, what I can tweak, what I can take away from things that have shown consistent, value and consistent work, that they work, So it really got me thinking. It's been sticking really heavy with me today on what that means, and I started reflecting back on a lot of the things that have went wrong, and the problem with that is you always tend to miss a lot of things. You tend to pass things up because you're between guilt and between wishing that you've done something different or trying to change your thought process or understand or dissect things. It's a lot easier to approach things from the side of what has went right. And that was actually, like I said, I'm going off of a lot of how these things were worded to me, and it made sense. That's the great thing about talking to people that not only know you inside and out, but they've been through similar things. They always say you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you don't go. And just having that as a little bit of perspective changes a lot, especially when you can trust somebody, when you can actually open your ears up and receive what they have to say without taking it personally, without taking offense, or without, misunderstanding the intention. So it rolls back to that thought of, okay, well, what have you done right? What have you done to be successful in any arena that you're having any kind of issues with? Or anywhere you're trying to develop, or you're trying to take something to a different level. It really doesn't matter. It rolls back into when you have something put in front of you and you have to find a solution, or you have to find, the process to do it. What has worked and what hasn't? don't ever make a decision that you're unsure about without at least taking a small amount of time to think about it. Don't speak before you think, unless you are so sure about what it is that you're saying that you can roll with it, because you're going to be stuck with that comment, you're going to be stuck with that answer, you're going to be stuck with that decision. It doesn't mean that you can't fix some aspects of it, but that's the really, really tough part about words, is when they come out, they're there. They don't go back. Decisions, sometimes they have lasting impacts that you can't remove. You can only try to move forward with. You can try to make improvements to. So, take the time to process things. Take the time to understand what it is. And even if you've got to talk to somebody, even if it's the person you're trying to communicate with, explain to them that you're not sure. Because we're not always going to be able to be concise. We're not always going to be able to fall into that confident category, because sometimes we are unsure of things, and that's where it is okay to lean on others, especially those that have been successful in the arenas that you're wanting to follow, to pursue. And this is the biggest step in my growth of understanding maturity. I feel that I am a very mature person. I am a very mature man in a lot of ways, but and I'm not talking about in the sense of not laughing at dick and fart jokes, because let's face it, they're still funny. I don't care how old you are. You're allowed to be immature in a sense of humor. But when it comes to real life things, especially in the position of a man, you've got to be centered. You've got to be grounded. You've got to be understanding of what it is that you're doing. Because if not, I can guarantee you bad shit's going to happen. That's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do to change that if you're going to follow being irresponsible, being indecisive, or being, just flat out not thinking before you act or speak. There's too much in life that we pass up out of fear, but there is a lot of things that we also screw up because we try to surpass fear with control. And it's a miserable way to go. So, that's the easiest breakdown of that. Maturity doesn't necessarily mean how old you are, or how much you know in a sense of book smarts, or how far you are in your career, or things like that. That was the best way to break that down is, being centered in what you say and do, and how you react. Reaction is something I touch on a lot, because I've been through that. I've been through the bad choices. I've been through the bad decisions and reactions to things, because I am a rather emotional person, and I understand that about myself. But that doesn't mean that I haven't been able to grasp that and grow, and to find that spot to where I can take a minute and think. And if I am unsure, I've got plenty of good people around me that I can talk to. That's something we always need to utilize. A lot of people internalize and just think that we all have the answers, and we don't. And the next step falls into communication. It kind of ties in hand with that. When you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, in a business sense, being concise, being clear, being understanding, that's your best way to approach it, because you're going to get the best results. When it comes to dealing with somebody you care about, or in a personal situation, saying what you mean really means a lot. But little pointers here and there on how you can approach things differently. Like between friendships, and especially relationships, they're about giving. They're not about what you're taking away from it. And that's when we get complacent, and if we're unhappy with anything in our own lives, we start looking at other people as in what they're not doing. And that's a really crappy way to go about it, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So, take a step back, take a minute to think about what it is that you're upset about, what it is that's affecting you, and communicate that. Talk about that to yourself, to a friend, before you go dumping that, on the person you care about. Or if you're going to talk about, with them, make sure that you are clear that you are unsure what this is and how to say it, and try to try to not be vague, but, explain the best that you can what it is that you're thinking and feeling. And most of the time, these people know you well enough that they're going to be able to help you through it. Don't let them dictate your feelings or your thoughts by any stretch of the imagination, because that's a good way for miscommunication. That's a good way to get led into something that's going to cause a lot more problems in the end, because when your problem's not resolved, you think it is temporarily, it's going to come back up. Another thing, if you are ever considering, if you really have something important to say and you just can't wait, you pick up your phone and you start to type out something that is very, very important. You go to text somebody something. I want you to take that phone and I want you to smack yourself in the face with it at least 3 or 4 times so you get the point, because that's about as much of a positive impact as you're going to have in communication. It's honestly, you're going to get the best results out of hitting yourself in the face with the phone, because you sending anything through text message that not only will switch context, tone, it's probably going to come out wrong. No matter how many times you proofread it, no matter how many times you say it, it's going to come out wrong. It's going to be taken wrong most of the time. And even the most understanding of people get tired of that shit. I know I have. I know the people I've dealt with have. I've seen it. I've seen other people get tired of it. And it's not like it's something that we don't know. It's just we get all bound up in having to say what we need to say, and then really what you're doing is you're trying to control the situation. You're trying to control someone else's thoughts or how they think about you or how they think about a situation, or you want somebody else to see your side so bad that you just have to spew it right then. The problem with that is you're not listening either. You're not waiting for any kind of clear dialogue. You are setting a precedence of, this is where I'm at and you're going to hear it no matter what, and it doesn't matter how you take it, because I want you to take it in a specific way, but the likelihood of that happening, it's not. It's very minimal. So take the time. If you've got something super important to say, take a minute, write it down if you're worried about forgetting it, and then pick up the phone later, when you get a free minute, or meet up with somebody in person. I've had this happen to me quite a few times, and personally, that's been the best results, is when you take a minute to, hey, I got something to talk about. My closest friends, it works that way. Whenever I've got something I'm like trying to figure out, or I've got to talk to them about something personally, taking a minute to talk face to face is how you resolve things. That's how you're going to get your best reaction out of it. You're going to get your best answers, and you're probably going to actually get a resolution out of something, whether it's a problem, or you're going to be able to, convey whatever it is you have to say without pissing people off. Because as much as you shouldn't really worry about what other people think, you still have to have some kind of tact when you approach people that you care about. Because the world isn't just about you. And I know we all get in that, I get in that, and no matter how centered you are, no matter how strong you are, independent, whatever it is, you're going to have those moments, and it's part of being human. So those are the 2 major things that I wanted to touch on. Taking the time to be clear so that there is no misunderstandings. And once you've stated your purpose, once you've stated what it is you needed to talk about, once you found a resolution, even if you haven't found a resolution, once you said what you need to say, shut up and let it go. Move past it and don't bring it up again. If it's a reoccurring thing, approach that like, hey, this has been talked about, it's an issue. And you eventually get to that point to where you need to start putting a divide between you and whoever it is in your life that's just, it's not getting the picture. I have been on both sides of that fence. I have been the one that just has had to say, okay, that's enough, and step away from it. I've lost good friends that way because it just doesn't work. But I've also been the irrational one on the other side that just didn't get it. It didn't click right away. And it takes losing something sometimes for people to get it. And that doesn't mean that life's over, or that you're never going to recover anything, or you're never going to have another friendship or relationship. It just means that you need to understand what happened and either take it as a learning experience, take it as something positive. tend to focus on the negative things at first, and then when the situation's not there anymore, all that stuff fades away and you're left with all these good things, and you're just like, I miss my buddy. You know, what am I supposed to do now? How do I approach this? And most of the time it's too late. And being okay with whatever happens whenever, knowing that you're gonna be all right in life, that's something to hold on to. So, well, I have droned on for long enough about this, and I am gonna go pick up the little ones. So you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will talk to you soon.